All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about how nonprofits are finally moving beyond guesswork, how they're using artificial intelligence to turn all that donor data they've collected into some seriously powerful, actionable fundraising insights. Honestly, it's a massive shift in how organizations can connect with their supporters.
But let me start with a question that probably hits pretty close to home for a lot of you. Does it ever feel like you're working your tail off to bring new donors in, only to watch them kind of quietly slip away?
If you're nodding your head right now, you are definitely not alone. This is one of the biggest challenges in the entire sector. Things like donor fatigue, declining contributions, these are very real problems, and they leave a lot of fundraisers feeling completely stuck. But what if there was a smarter way to do things?
What if you could see a number like this? Now, this isn't some made-up number. Real organizations like Animal Haven have used the exact tools we're talking about to boost their recurring donors by 264%. That's not just an improvement, that's a total game changer. So how on earth did they do it?
Well, the solution, or at least a huge part of it, is artificial intelligence. AI isn't some futuristic sci-fi concept anymore. It's a real, practical tool that's right here, right now, helping nonprofits make smarter decisions, build stronger relationships, and ultimately raise more money for their mission.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the core challenge everyone's facing. Then we'll talk about how to fuel AI with the right data. We'll see its predictive power in action with some real-world examples, figure out how to measure success, and finally, map out your very first step into this new world.
Okay, first up, let's really set the stage with the modern fundraising challenge. We're talking about overcoming that dreaded donor fatigue and getting to the bottom of why retention rates seem to be falling off a cliff.
And this number, well, it's frankly alarming. This is the projected retention rate for new donors. Just let that sink in for a second. For every 10 new donors you work so hard to bring in, more than 8 of them are likely to be gone within a year. This is exactly why a new approach isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely critical.
So if AI is the engine that's going to power our fundraising, then data, that's the fuel. Let's talk about how good, clean data provides the essential foundation you need for any kind of accurate insight.
You've all heard this one, right? Garbage in, garbage out. It's a classic for a reason. If the data you're feeding your AI is messy, incomplete, or just plain wrong, the predictions it spits out are going to be just as flawed. That's why getting your data house in order is the absolute non-negotiable first step.
So for AI to work its magic, it needs a really well-rounded picture of your donors. It combines these 5 key data types. First, you've got the financial history. That's the obvious one, what they've given before. But engagement data is just as crucial. Things like email opens, event attendance. That tells the AI how connected they feel to your mission right now. It's like a real-time pulse check. Then, you add in wealth and demographic data to understand a donor's capacity to give, not just their past habits. Layer on top of that behavioral data, like which pages they linger on your website, to understand what they actually care about. And finally, clean administrative data just ties it all together, making sure the AI knows it's looking at one person, not 3 different messy records of them. Altogether, these pieces let the AI see the whole person, not just a dollar.
And look, keeping that data clean doesn't have to be this massive, scary project. 3 simple best practices can make a world of difference. First, standardize how you enter things like names and addresses. Second, do regular audits, maybe every few months, just to clear out duplicates. And third, simplify your donor forms. Only ask for what you really need.
Okay, so we've got our clean data, our high-octane fuel. Now for the fun part. Let's see how this all comes to life. This section is all about AI's predictive power in action, turning that raw data into actual real-world fundraising success. So you're going to hear this term thrown around a lot, RFM analysis. It stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. It's an old-school marketing technique, but here's the cool part. AI can automate this whole thing instantly. It scores and segments your entire donor base to find your absolute best, most committed supporters in the blink of an eye.
And this right here, this chart just says it all. A few years back, Parkinson's UK tested their traditional mailing list against a new one that was generated by AI. Now, the AI list was actually smaller and more focused, but just look at that response rate, 14% versus 9%. That is a huge leap in just being more efficient and effective with their outreach.
But honestly, this is the part of the story that really gets me. The AI found 411 donors who were really likely to give, but who would have been completely missed using their old-school selection methods. Think about that. That's 411 relationships they could have missed out on entirely.
And this wasn't just a fluke or a one-off. Look at what the American Cancer Society did. They used machine learning to really fine-tune their digital ads. And the results were just, wow, stunning, right across the board. Engagement was near 70%, click-through rates just soared past the benchmark, and their revenue was 117% over their goal.
So, you've put AI in place, and you're seeing these amazing results. But how do you actually measure that success? How do you prove the return on your investment? Let's talk about the key metrics you need to know. Okay, we've got to learn a bit of new vocabulary here, but trust me, it's worth it. First is donor lifetime value, or LTV. That predicts the total revenue you can expect from one donor. But net LTV is even better. It subtracts your costs, so you get a true picture of profitability. And finally, ask amount accuracy. This shows how good your AI is at suggesting the perfect amount to ask for, which is so key to avoiding that donor fatigue we talked about.
And beyond those big three, you'll want to track the classics, like retention and engagement scores. But here's a huge one: cost per dollar raised. AI can often slash this by 10 to 30% just by making your outreach smarter. And just remember, this is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. The AI models need to be updated every 3 to 6 months to keep them sharp and accurate.
All right, let's bring it all home. I know this can all seem like a lot, so let's focus on your very first step with AI and how you can make this amazing technology feel manageable and, most of all, empowering for your mission.
First thing to realize is the demand is already there. A full 74% of online donors actually expect nonprofits to be using tools like AI for their marketing and fundraising. Your supporters are ready for this. They want a more personalized, targeted approach.
This quote really just nails the whole idea. It's about a fundamental shift from assessing what happened in the past to actively anticipating what's going to happen in the future. You know, it's the difference between trying to drive a car by only looking in the rearview mirror versus driving with a live GPS that's showing you the road ahead.
So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your team. After everything we've seen today, from finding hundreds of missed donors to blowing campaign goals out of the water, you just have to ask yourselves, what incredible fundraising potential is currently locked away, just waiting to be discovered inside your own data?